This is Democracy Now! I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez, and at least 4 of the 5 states where reproductive rights were on the ballot, voters supported protecting the right to abortion and rejected new restrictions. On our election night special Tuesday, Juan Gonzalez and I spoke to Amy Littlefield, abortion access correspondent at The Nation. I began by asking her about Vermont becoming the first state to enshrine abortion rights in its constitution.
History has been made in Vermont in more ways than one. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. Early in the evening, results coming in that Vermont has enshrined not just the right to abortion, but the sweeping right to personal reproductive autonomy into their state constitution. And that includes the right to access birth control, the right to access or to refuse sterilization, because of this robust and long and tragic history of forced sterilization of women of color, of people of color in this country. And it includes the right to be pregnant and have support when you want to be pregnant, and to have an abortion when you want to have an abortion. This is the first time we have seen a state proactively enshrine that right into a constitution. I mean, think about what a different place we would be in, right, if that was enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. 2 other states are considering similar measures. And, it's early on, but I would predict, because abortion is such a popular issue, I think Michigan and California, the other 2 states, are likely to pass these similar measures to enshrine this robust right to reproductive autonomy into their state constitutions. Of course, the state where it matters the most is Michigan, because Michigan has a 1931 abortion ban still on the books. It's been held up by a court, so it's not in effect. The Democratic governor, who's currently in place, of course, Gretchen Whitmer, doing everything in her power to try to save abortion access in her state. But it would be a hugely powerful and consequential message if the people of Michigan voted in favor of this constitutional amendment that's on the ballot there. So those are 3 that I'm watching very closely. And then we have Kentucky, Amy, and I am just obsessively refreshing the results right now, waiting to see if this race is going to be called. Kentucky, one of the reddest states in the country, a state that is already living under an abortion ban, right, has on the ballot an anti-abortion measure similar to the one that we saw in Kansas over the summer that would sort of make permanent the existing abortion ban in the state by saying there is no right to abortion in the Kentucky state constitution. And it looks like voters there are rejecting this measure. I mean, early results are showing a pretty resounding rejection of this anti-abortion amendment in deep red Kentucky.
The Nation's abortion access reporter Amy Littlefield, former Democracy Now! Producer, referenced the Michigan Proposal 3 enshrining a constitutional right to reproductive freedom. The New York Times' latest update is that with 84% of votes counted, the measure is ahead with 55% of the vote. Meanwhile, Protect Kentucky Access, which worked to defeat Kentucky's proposed anti-abortion amendment, called the win historic and said in a statement, quote, "Not only does it represent a win against government overreach and government interference in the people of Kentucky's personal medical decisions, it represents the first time so many different organizations have come together with such an intense, single-minded purpose to defeat a threat of this magnitude," unquote. Also on Democracy Now!'s election night special, Juan and I spoke to former Labor Secretary Robert Reich about the next steps for President Biden if the Republicans do take control of the House.
There are some people who say that the Democrats need to compromise more with Republicans. The days of compromising have to be over. There's no compromising with authoritarianism or proto-fascism. There's no halfway point between democracy and the authoritarianism we are seeing with the Republican Party now, which is becoming the party of authoritarianism. I don't think the Democrats should attempt to compromise. I think the Democrats have got to stand for labor, jobs, working people. The abandonment of the working class by the Democratic Party to a large extent over the past 40 years has been a huge problem, not only for the Democratic Party, but for the country as a whole.
Robert Reich, if as seems likely, although we don't know for sure, that the Democrats lose control of the House, possibly even the Senate. What do you envision that President Biden should do in the next 2 years to be dealing with opposition control of the Congress?
Well, his veto pen is going to be very, very active. I think he's going to be, if the Republicans take control over Congress, or even if they take control over one house of Congress, he's got to be very careful to push back as hard as he possibly can. What I expect, the first thing we're likely to get, if Republicans control the House, is an attempt to use the raising of the debt ceiling as a way of forcing the administration's hand to do a lot of things that the Republican Party would like to do for its patrons in corporate America and in the moneyed interest class, such as reducing taxes further, such as providing even more rollbacks of regulations. And I think that what the administration has got to be very clear about is that there is going to be no compromising on the debt ceiling. We're not going to have a repeat of 2011. We're not going to allow the Republicans to use that debt ceiling fight as a way of gaining leverage when they know they're not going to have the ability to override a veto.
That's former Labor Secretary Robert Reich speaking on Democracy Now!'s midterm election night special Tuesday night, early in the evening before we had many results back.